Hey, everybody. Welcome to Why We Love Horror TV. And Abby's here. But this is Fiorella first, is my wife. Then over there, that's Abby Brooks and Aaron Brooks. How you guys doing today?
Good. I have released Abby from her plastic wrap and allowed her to put on clothes and join this episode because we know without clothes, it works better.
Yeah, we got to see, somebody being shown how it works in this episode, but let's just introduce the episode. It is the 5th episode of Dexter Original Sin. F is for fuck up.
When were you going to tell me he got loose?
No one saw me. I really messed something up this time.
Come on, it's not like you killed anyone.
What if I did kill someone?
He ran in the middle of the street.
Can you remember anything about his appearance?
Bad things happen, but they don't have to define us.
Sometimes the bad guys, they slip through the cracks.
Dexter Original Sin.
And that was episode 5's trailer. F is for fuck up. In the description here, I won't use that word so YouTube doesn't censor us. But my big takeaway of the episode was that I'm glad Aaron is here because he can provide insight into this. I don't believe someone who doesn't smoke pot could eat 6 pot brownies and survive. Aaron, your opinion?
Yeah. As the resident pot fact checker here on Why We Love Horror, I can confirm that is not how that would go. I'll allow it. It was a pretty funny scene. We had the classic, like, getting so stoned if you say a word over and over again, it is going to start sounding weird. That is a thing for sure. But it wouldn't have been that entertaining to just watch Dexter sleep on a couch through his mother's death anniversary.
Yeah. Well, Aaron, we'll go back over to you then. What was your big takeaway from the episode?
It's been continued. I don't know if I mentioned this last episode or not, or if it was off screen or not, but I really think a huge point of this whole Original Sin series is going to be revealing how terrible of a fucking father or adopted father Harry Morgan is. Because I think by the end of this, Harry's going to look pretty selfish, pretty responsible for a lot of why Dexter becomes the way he is. Yes, Dexter has some responsibility to it, but we'll kind of get into, especially with Doris, the adopted mother, Harry's wife, and how she was looking out for Dexter, wanting him to get psychiatric help. There's a lot of examples here of when he could have gotten help and Harry is solely responsible for him not getting that help. So again, so far, Original Sin appears to be the original sin of Harry Morgan, I think.
Abby, what do you got?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think this whole series, they let in every episode. There's like new little bits of information that they kind of let in and that you kind of have to catch. And I do agree with Aaron. I mean, I think that I feel like this whole series is really going to come down hard on Harry and just kind of the whole family dynamic and just a lot of stuff that we didn't learn from the original series. I think one of my biggest takeaways from this episode in general, again, one of the little things that we find out about Dexter is how he started drugging his victims. There's like a whole little plot in there about Sarah Michelle Gellar's just watching the horse races, starts asking about the drugs that they use. So he just goes to the stables and just takes a bunch of drugs from the horse stable, which I would think most of those medications should be locked up, but he just walks right in and steals them.
90s, again, early 90s did not have these sort of security measures.
But again, it's just like little bits of information that they're letting you know each episode of like, oh, this is how he learns to do this or where he kind of got this idea from, which I like these little bits of information that they use and you can call back to.
We also learned that Tanya is a degenerate gambler, so maybe that'll come up in later, I imagine. Fiorella, what was your big takeaway?
Yeah, no, I agree. The family dynamics storyline is pretty amazing. I do love like the background of that. I could see where I feel really bad for Deborah. She is really crapped on a lot by the selfishness of the men in her life. So like, I understand like, she's so abrasive and so, but like, kind of off-putting. I love Deb. I'm adoring Deb. She's annoying and she's a teenager, but I feel like the selfishness of her father and her brother, kind of make her that way. Just like Harry kind of probably made him the monster that he is, as opposed to like, a good guy.
Yeah, and we mentioned Harry's wife, the original wife, I guess,
Doris.
Doris. Eagle-eyed horror viewers, I just found out today, Jasper Lewis, who plays that, is the girl from Amateur Night in VHS who passes out on the bed. Same actress.
Okay.
There you go. She shows up other places. That's just a small tidbit for everybody watching. Also, a lead that we kind of buried. It's a storyline that's been going on every episode, but we never talked about it yet. Harry botching the child murderer case and letting Levi go free. Levi, played by Jeff Daniel Phillips, a Rob Zombie regular. If you recognize him, he's in every Rob Zombie movie. But yeah, that's something we haven't talked about, and actually leads to Dexter kind of saving Harry's ass because he decides to go rogue and try to kill this guy while he's drunk off his ass. And I think Aaron already alluded to this. It goes up to Dexter pretending like he's going to kill Harry, even though it's just to show him how secure things are. What do you guys think of that part of the show?
Well, so that particular part, and maybe I'm misremembering the original series, but I thought in the original series, they made it seem like Harry had never actually seen how Dexter kills the people that he kills. But in this show, he's seeing it all very up close and personal. Because from what I remember in the original series, when he actually saw it, that's what kind of drove him to kill himself. So that's why I'm like, oh, so he actually did see how he does this. So it really isn't that big of a mystery. That was just a little confusing thing. Again, I might be misremembering from the original series. But no, I liked it. I mean, I think, again, like this whole episode is kind of about mistakes on everybody's part. And I kind of liked how it ended. Dexter and Harry having that confrontation at the end and, you know, just kind of talking about it in that weird way.
Yeah, I just think this continues to show how Harry's going to kind of bend his own rules and kind of fit narratives to view when he's the most righteous and most correct at all times. And that's a really dangerous kind of position to be in with how we know that he's the mentor to Dexter and things like this. And I think it slips on to, you know, like father, like adopted son here with how Dexter will continue to justify his breaking of the rules into the main series and New Blood and probably in Resurrection as well. But who knows? Like, but either way, like, yeah, I mean, it's just like, I'm not impressed with Harry, man. Harry is really like ultimately responsible for Dexter. And it's pretty clear here. Like, and yeah, and I just, you know, the way he affects Dexter, the way he affects Deb, it ripples throughout their lives. Like, and Dexter's always like absent with Deb. Like, it's like happened from the beginning and it just continues throughout their lives together. And it's like just a very, you know, unhealthy psychological dynamic there between them. And it's just like, if like at so many different points, Dexter would have just gotten some psychological help, like he could have, I think, avoided this. And it's like kind of tragic, I think, which is surprising kind of turned with this. I wasn't quite expecting that when I started this series. So like the further it goes, the more I'm angry at Harry and more I feel bad for Dexter and Deb.
Yeah, I agree with that. I started this series with like, oh my God, I love Harry. Like I'm still, you know, and I am now seeing like, you know what, that dark passenger is very much Harry. Like,
yeah, and even like I don't know if they've adjusted the visuals of his flashbacks and made them less bright, or if I'm viewing them as less bright now. Yes. I think they have slightly adjusted the saturation, and it's like kind of planting that more seed, like, oh, these are kind of darker memories. Well, the first one was so bright and yellow, and I don't think it was just because it was new.
Yeah, no, I agree. And so I didn't realize the colors. I thought it was like, oh wow, his face looks older and harder in the flashback where he's in the last flashback. Yeah. But it's probably the lighting is what I was reacting to. But yeah, no, I definitely think I don't like this feeling that I have with Harry right now. It started last episode with the whole cheating thing, but like now it's magnified and I'm like, wow, you could have. I think he secretly does love the fact that Dexter does this because this is his inner kind of like desires as a police officer, you know?
Right. And we see it in, I hate to bring up New Blood, But I will bring up New Blood here to just make the point with Harrison. He's so excited when he thinks Harrison has his dark passenger. He tries to push him towards that. It is, again, like father, like son, makes a little more of an effect on New Blood, because at this point I'm searching for reasons to even remember New Blood, frankly. And this is doing a better job. And even like when Dexter goes to Doris's grave and he's like, oh, I thought when you wanted to get me psychological help, it's because you hated who I was.
Yeah.
It's like, no, like, and that is just like, as someone who has had their parent help them get psychological help at some points in my adolescence, I'm very glad my mother did that. And I'd be a very different person and probably have a bunch of bodies in the bottom of Lake Michigan otherwise. But instead, she saved me, got into social work myself, much better person, you know. So thank you, Mom, for, you know, doing the right thing with me. And Doris tried to do the right thing with Dexter. And it's just like, I think the more flashbacks we get with Doris in these last episodes, the more angry we're going to be with Harry, because during
Doris
the time that Deborah
was pregnant with Deb in this one. She gets the, and that was right after Harry had like hooked up with Laura for the second time that we know of. Right. So I have a feeling he's going to try to break it off with her because of his wife being pregnant, and that might lead to her making a mistake, which ultimately leads to her dying.
Yep.
The original sin.
Yes.
There's so many original sins in this. Also, I don't think there's just one. I think there's like probably about 15 different original sins by the end of this.
Also, isn't it ironic? Harry gets involved with a woman with 2 children, and then Dexter gets involved with a woman with 2 children. Just a thread that goes through.
Yeah. I like that you brought up the Dexter saying goodbye at the scene, the cemetery scene. It seemed like that was the finality of like any semblance or any like little seed of goodness in him, or for him to be like, maybe I shouldn't do this, even though we've never seen that, right? But any like that is the day that like we knew he is never turning back.
Yeah, I agree. So I think anything else really happens in the episode. We do know that there's like a lot of dynamics at the police station now, because now we know that Tanya is a gambler. We also know that Captain Spencer saves Harry from being totally eliminated from the force. He doesn't necessarily demote him rank-wise. He just demotes him kind of squad-wise. He assigns him to LaGuardia's detail instead of being in the high-profile cases. So now, obviously, he owes Spencer a huge favor, which I imagine is going to get cashed in later in the season, depending on who's behind the murder of the judge's son. I think it's all going to really mesh together.
Yeah, and just one more, when Deborah goes to Doris's grave, because I feel like that's huge. She's abandoned once again by Harry and Dexter. Like, and she's having such a hard time with this, and it's a very effective way to convey how a person around this age would feel about losing a parent, I think, in a really well done way while not being melodramatic. She shows up in the same dress she took the last picture in. It's just like really actually like very thoughtful stuff here, which is like quite impressive from Dexter, because I don't think this show towards the end, especially the last 4 seasons, I think it lost all the thoughtfulness. And again, like Clyde Phillips is nailing it so far as showrunner. I think they have a really good pace that they're going along this season with. The Mad Dog storyline just kind of solves itself. It is what it is with that. I'll kind of allow it. I do personally think that the witness being fingerprinted did recognize Dexter. I think he's seen Dexter in that area before. He's like, I don't want to fuck with this guy. Never, or whatever. I don't want to with this guy. You know, you can add a bleep. Sorry for the edit. But like,
we can't put that in the title.
I would have to rewatch that scene, but I swear he like has a look, and it's a look like I've seen you before, or I saw you chasing this guy, or like whatever. There's something, and he's just, maybe it will never be touched again. And it was just kind of to exemplify like, Dexter, you were this close from the jump. But I personally think he recognized him.
Yeah. Well, if anybody else have anything else to add before I jump into the ratings for the episode? Let's do it then. So we'll start from Aaron and work our way across. Aaron, what do you think of this episode?
Yeah, I think I might have been a little bit harsh on last week's episode. I think I gave it a 3.5, and rewatching it before this week, earlier this week, I really did like it more. It's just been steady as we go here. I'm trying not to get too caught up in who we're going to say goodbye to, who's going to disappear, who's just going to, move on with the police force. Because I'm like, every episode, I've kind of gotten sick of thinking about who Tanya is, who Tanya will be, what Tanya is, what Captain Aaron will be. So I've let all that go. I'm all about kind of the filler episodes at this point. I almost like more than the episodes where things are happening, because I feel like we're getting way more information on the entire series and the characters here. So this is back up to a 4.5 videotapes. Of 5. Yeah, I know. Even with the pot misrepresentation in the show, I thought that was a really nice moment with them, and it actually was pretty funny. And again, like I like when Deb and Dexter actually interact and like bond. It's so nice, but Dexter can't get out of his own way. So it's just going to keep happening here. The thing with the horse tranquilizer was really nice, and I'm really glad that's not what this whole show is just being like, oh, this is how he discovered to use plastic wrap instead of tinfoil. This is how he discovered, like, bits and pieces of fun Easter eggs really go a long way, and this was a good use of it. So 4.5.
Dexter using the appropriate math to knock out Harry, but not trigger his heart condition. Also very thoughtful.
That was very funny.
Abby, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was very solid. I feel kind of similarly about all of these episodes. I know I didn't talk about last week's, but I feel I think that they are improving upon the first episode. Again, everything is very steady, and there's different reveals in each episode that I really like. And I didn't mind that there wasn't anything huge or big that happened this episode. I thought there were a lot of good moments, again, like the horse stuff. I think this episode, I liked the moments with Deb quite a bit. In the last episodes, I thought a lot of her stuff just felt very pointless and just like she needed to be there kind of thing. But in this one, again, the moment with her at the grave, I thought was a really good moment. And again, even the moment with her and Dexter and the pot brownies was a good moment also. I think something big is going to happen soon. Maybe next week. But I'll give this episode a 3.5, which I think is a good score.
Right. I also love that Deb's competition with the other girl on the volleyball team is who supplies the team with the most drugs more often.
That's how a lot of sports teams work. Also, Gil's got to be evil, right?
Yeah, I have a feeling.
Also very 90s too, though.
What'd you think?
Okay, so yep, I agree with the steadiness of this still being an awesome series, answering questions that we've had, will have, answering even questions that we necessarily haven't thought about. I think I'm purely rating off of emotions. So it's actually going to go down a little bit because Harry is pissing me off. So I'm going to go from a 4.5 to a 4. But the series is still amazing.
I would agree. I think a lot of stuff, I think there's a lot of interesting things that were said in this episode. And like just the minor things are just like, just plot devices to move the show forward. So I'm not going to nitpick too much. I think it is very steady. I'm going to also remain at a 4. I think they are, it's a filler episode, but for a filler episode to get a 4 is really good. All right. Well, if you made this far in the episode, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share. Go over to Letterboxd, if you will, and join the Why We Love Horror Challenge, the second annual Why We Love Horror Challenge. A lot of people have already signed up for it. We appreciate you, people who signed up for it, but make sure you interact with us throughout the year. Watch all the Why We Love Horror episodes to know what we're watching as well. Schedule's usually the same. This is airing Sunday, so you'll see this Sunday, and hopefully every Sunday from now on. Mondays versus Thursdays, Why We Love Horror. Fridays, Why We Love Horror Trivia. And there'll be some filler episodes as we go through. So until next week, I am John Maher. This is my wife, Fiorella Maher. And that's the Brookses, Abby and Aaron Brooks. And this has been another episode of Why We Love Horror Television.